Gwyn is one of the playable characters in Destiny Rising, and in this video, I'll be breaking down the lore behind this character. Gwyn wields the power of Void, executing it through her scythe, called the Verdict. This is her relic weapon, one that every character has, and these relic weapons are what you use in your super, depending on the character. The lore for Verdict reads, the final verdict is executed by an entity enrobed in darkness. Ritualism. Chronicles from the Golden Age recount a sect in Western Europe that venerated death. Allied with Earth's armada, they traversed the Sea of Stars, reclaiming dead bodies lost in combat and returning them to terrestrial soil. These clerics, enshrouded in black and wielding scythes reminiscent of antiquity, stood vigilant against the perils of war, and at critical junctures, executed the decrees of martial tribunals. This describes a group that follows death, who uses these scythes as they go out and reclaim dead bodies across the stars. This faction may have been associated with the acolytes of Nezarec, if they exist in this timeline. The Verdict Scythe has a resemblance to Nezarec's scythe, called the Night Terror, and this group venerated death as a deity. Possibly they saw Nezarec as death, and given that he's the final god of pain, it would make sense. Gwyn herself has intriguing ties to other corners of the Destiny universe. Her file reads, 3 hours after being resurrected by her ghost, Gwyn was captured by the local warlord Walter and was enslaved. The warlord would torture his light-bearer prisoner endlessly in an attempt to break her. Gwyn seized every chance to resist, earning only punishment from Walter. She became well acquainted with death, growing in both rage and combat experience with each revival. When the moment for revenge came, Gwyn liberated her ghost amidst the turmoil of Walter's conflict with his rival warlords and delivered her judgment upon the tyrant. From then on, Gwyn wandered Europe, seeking out the wicked and delivering retribution onto them. She soon became known as the Reaper, a cold figure seen by some as a merciless crusader for justice, and others as a serial killer donning a mask of righteousness. Gwyn embraced death with each revival. She venerates death in many of her voice lines, finding solace in it. Given that she plays like a warlock, Gwyn might be a founding member of the Thanatonauts in Destiny Rising. Thanatonauts translates to Navigator of Death, Thanatos being a Greek god of death, and Nautis for a navigator. They were a group of warlocks who voluntarily die to embrace visions. She met death in her torment caused by the warlord Walter. Lore tab expands on this, reading, I've read that hypnic jerks are the feeling of falling as one begins to fall asleep, but the spasms I feel are different, created instead by dreams of my own past deaths. Thanks to that dead, good-for-nothing Walter, I've experienced nearly all ways to meet death. Many years have passed, yet I feel those memories as vividly as ever, like the phantom pain of losing a limb. I remember the air in my lungs getting thinner, the hopeless suffocation that deep breaths wouldn't help, and the strange peace that followed. I remember the rope tied around my neck, the metallic taste of blood rushing into my mouth, then the heat flooding back into my lungs. I remember the natural feeling of pain giving way to numbness as my fingers were pierced by nails. These and so many others, burns, bullet wounds, slashed tendons, were all gifts from Walter. In his attempts to force me into submission, he killed me 26 times in a day. 26 times I embraced death, yet not once did I get to enjoy that eternal peace. But now it's all over, and he has paid his price. I smashed his ghost to ensure he would stay asleep. It would be rude to wake him after all. As for memories, they may still awaken my instinctive reactions, but I feel as if I'm watching movies starring myself. The villain is dead, but the story isn't over. The tyrants and criminals that still walk among the living will pay for their sins. None shall escape eternal slumber. Walter tormented her, killing her 26 times in a single day. She embraced death, but never got to stay dead, being revived shortly after. But that period, in a state of death, was something strangely peaceful to her, and she grew a hatred for Walter as he would take her out of it, only to bring her more pain. Going back to the Thanatonauts, the Greek god Thanatos is the peaceful personification of death. He is considered to be merciless and indiscriminate, though this led to him being easily outwitted. The Pale Horseman, one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, is named Thanatos, and he wields a scythe, traveling on a horse. Gwyn feels scorned by the world, as she is forced to endure the pains of existence, rather than being left to eternal peace in death. To battle evil, she dons the title of the Reaper and wields a scythe of death to combat those who commit vile atrocities in the name of righteousness. She takes on the two halves of Thanatos. Some view her to be merciless, like the Greek god version of Thanatos, while others view her to be a serial killer donning a front of righteousness, like the Pale Horseman. She combines both aspects when acting as the Reaper. To the victims of torment, she is a symbol to look up to as she brings wrath to the tyrants. To her enemies, she is a horseman of the apocalypse, the embodiment of death seeking vengeance. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.